Hello everybody and welcome to Against the Fence. Now, should there be a 165-pound division in the UFC or even in mixed martial arts in general? Well, in this video, I'm going to be going through some of the pros and cons to that topic, as well as hopefully hearing some of your ideas as well. But first, if you are new to the channel, welcome. I'm JK. If you're obsessed with the UFC and you're passionate about talking about all things UFC, then definitely hit that subscribe button because we are a UFC fan channel. And we're all about fan opinions. Now, this topic has come from the recent UFC fight night that just happened this past weekend when Kevin Lee lost again, and this time it was to Daniel Rodriguez. And his fight before that fight, he lost against Charles Oliveira, who's now the champion, of course. But back then, he did struggle to make that 155-pound limit. And this time round, some of you wonder, was Daniel Rodriguez too big for Kevin Lee? So, excuse me. And of course, this topic is, it comes around, doesn't it? Now and again. Should there be more weight classes in mixed martial arts? Well, we're going to talk about that and get some of your guys' opinions as well. Now, of course, if there was to be a 165-pound division, you'd have to move the 170 bracket because £5 difference is not much, really. Unless, of course, you're in the sport of boxing. So the welterweight limit would move to 175, and it would make sense, right? You're 145, 155, 175, 185, etc., and it goes on like that. Kind of makes sense. But let's dive into some of the pros and cons then, because back in 2 years ago, Dana White sort of shut this idea down, and this video that I'm referencing is the Schmo. He's a journalist. You've probably seen him in some of the press conferences and things like that. He's always got a bit of a slick back hair with big yellow glasses. Well, Dana was talking to him 2 years ago, and Dana sort of said both of these divisions are stacked, 155 and 170. And if we create another division, then it hurts both of those divisions. It kind of does make sense, really, in a lot of ways. You've got these insane divisions. Why would you want to touch them? And we're going to get into it. Ash saying definitely needs 165 division. So Ash is all on board with this 165 division, and it opens everything up so much. Okay, good. Some good points, but I've got some very good counterpoints for that as well. And to be honest, it's for me. I've had a lot to think about it today, and I can't really decide. Maybe I'll make a definitive decision on which way I'm at towards the end of the video, but let's share both aspects in for you guys. And surely by creating this division, doesn't it, you could sign more fighters, right? Wouldn't it make sense? And sort of even things out. If you think about Dana's point there, just sign more fighters. And at the same time, I guess it would take quite a few number of years to at least get the division to settle, surely. I don't know. Let us know your thoughts on this, because I think it would be a good idea. But then part of me is like, well, no. Why would you want to water down the competition in these weight classes, and which are probably two of our favorite divisions. And I guess the fans would be suffering in some ways, right? We love to look at the top 15 of the divisions. We love to try and pair up who's next for each fighter. And I guess, if you then sign other new fighters on board, they're not going to be as well known, right? So, it's a tricky one nonetheless. But then on the other hand, you can open up for like more champion versus champion kind of fights, with that 10-pound difference. You look back at previous years, you had BJ Penn taking on GSP. BJ Penn was the lightweight champion at the time, and obviously GSP being the welterweight champion. And BJ made that massive jump up. Okay, he's been in higher weight classes before. He fought light heavyweight against Lyoto Machida, But still, you know, I think the gap is, you narrow the gap by having a 165 division, and then therefore the competition between 165, 170, or 155 and 165 kind of broadens out a lot more. You know, it makes it sort of that closer of a fight. But then let's look at the potential fighters then that could, you know, pave the way for a 165 division. Let's see who's in the middle between these two weight classes. You've obviously got Kevin Lee, who you've seen from the thumbnail and obviously lost at the weekend. Rafael dos Anjos has been at both weight classes. You could definitely fit in that bracket. Donald Cerrone as well. However, I do think that Donald Cerrone should probably retire. He's probably about done now. You know, maybe one fight at 165 could, before he goes out, could benefit him quite massively. Excuse me. And then, of course, Michael Chiesa. He's been at both weight classes as well. He's looked great at welterweight, though. Don't get me wrong. Yes, he is coming off a loss against Vicente Luque as of recent. But, you know, maybe his body would suit 165. Or do you guys think that he's already cutting quite a bit already? You know, let us know. Neil Magny, of course, is quite a slim welterweight when you look at it. And of course, I don't know if Magny's actually been at lightweight as well. I'd have to double check that. But Jorge Masvidal, big star of the UFC, of course. He's fought in both weight classes and had wins in both as well. Coming off of a loss against Usman, of course. Tony Ferguson I've got in there, of course. He's another big fan favourite. And I think he would, you know, be one of the front runners to at least top the division, at least. And then, of course, the other two I've got are Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. Now, there's some big names in there, right? You could kick off a 165 division without a doubt. But as I was kind of writing these names down, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to search and see what the combined record of these fighters are in the last 3 years, okay? So let's see. So what is it? What do you guys think it is? I'm going to tell you now. The combined record of all of those guys in the last 3 years is 25 wins and 31 losses. Insane, right? Bit of a landslide. So all of these guys have been coming off of some insane close fights against some top of the division in both welterweight and lightweight. Now, however, how can you create a title fight from these list of people? Most of them are coming off of losses. And it would be a really desperate move from the UFC, right? Going back to the previous statement, does it water down both divisions? If you take these guys out, does it not elevate people a lot below her, right? Does it make their stock potentially get higher? Have they get this in more wins? Or are you going to get like a division that's a bit like heavyweight, where, you know, you've got the top guys are sitting so much higher above the bottom half? What do you guys think of that, right? Is it watering it down, both welterweight and lightweight? It's a very good point. It's hard to go back on it, really, is it? But I think in some ways it's a much better move for some fighters in terms of health-wise. But then on the other hand, therefore, you're going to get sort of better performances, right? If these guys are coming in on fight night much more healthier, have not depleted themselves, their body's going to be 100%. You can get better performances, i.e., you know, Kevin Lee. And then you've also got the guys who have struggled against the more, you know, bigger and maybe stronger fighters. They're going to be paired up a lot better, right? Or should fighters just be more disciplined? If you're making that cut down to 155, you've got to get your body in the right place. You get your mind in the right place, of course. You get your diet in the right place. And maybe Kevin Lee should be a bit more disciplined. So much to take in, so much to digest. But let us know what you guys think. Would you like to see the 165-pound division? Or does someone like Kevin Lee need to be a bit more disciplined with his weight? Obviously, you know, it's not the whole issue with Kevin Lee's performance. Kevin Lee's been battling a lot of things in the past few years with his former coach dying. He's been battling, constant camp changes and really settling himself in anywhere, really. So that could partially be majority of the reason. But look, this 165-pound division is a great topic to talk about. Of course, there's the topic as well, which kind of ties in with this, and that would be the jump between middleweight and light heavyweight, right? It's such a big gap as well. But then I guess the other question is, what would you call this division? Right? Mixed martial arts doesn't want to end up being like boxing in some ways, And you don't want to have, say, call it whatever it is now. Is it super welterweight or super lightweight? Do you fall into those brackets? Do you do that? I don't know, man. It's so tricky. I was saying Ferguson champ 165. Yeah, big shout for it, I'd say. 100%. I think he'd have the tools to do it. And especially with Ferguson as well, with sort of... He's getting quite late into the game now, He's not got that many fights left in him. When you make that cut over a period of time, it has humongous effects on the body. So probably 165 would benefit him, right? And the same with Nate Diaz as well. Ash also says that is true as well. We want to fight at that weight class. You have to make the weight, and that's absolutely. Fight Game 247 saying oi oi. Yes, Tommy, welcome. Nice to see you, buddy. What do you reckon of this situation? Do you think that you'd water down the 155 and 170 divisions by adding in this 165 weight class, or do you think you benefit from it as a fan later on with more title fights? And that's another point. You'd have more champions on the roster. It's definitely a push towards pay-per-view sales if you're from the UFC standpoint. Is it going to, is it going to generate more money over time? That's a question. I'm kind of not sure about, really, because if you take guys out of the divisions, you still got amazing fights. You still, I guess, taking away some big fights, but potentially if one guy, for example, stays in the welterweight division or another guy moves down, it's those guys are not necessarily going to fight. And I guess another issue is for the UFC is if you announce this division, is everyone, majority of people going to go, oh fuck it, let's do that. I've got a better chance of becoming a champion if I do this. So I guess for a UFC, if you're the UFC, you'd have to monitor it, right? You'd clearly have to handpick the people to go down and into this weight class. You can't have people deciding that they're just going to drop weight willy-nilly just like that. Another negative standpoint, I guess, is it's going to affect smaller organizations with talent-wise because they're going to suffer. They're going to lose some top guys if the UFC decide to do this because they're going to be looking to recruit. But then on the flip side to that, surely with this being the fastest growing sport in the world, is more people not doing MMA? Is more people not training, right? And you're getting more people from other disciplines transcending into mixed martial arts. So for that point, I don't think they probably would suffer, would they? Although I do like that there isn't as many belts in mixed martial arts as there are in boxing. I must admit, I do like that aspect. Do you guys prefer that aspect? Because if you create so many different weight divisions and so many different belts, okay, yes, you're going to grow more in pay-per-view numbers and things like that because casual fans love it when there's a belt on the line, and it works for boxing, right? But then you do just completely annihilate the whole idea of having a fighter rankings, which, by the way, I love so much. Joe Rogan has downplayed it in the past, saying, why would you want a rankings? You want to see the best fighters fight the best. But for a fan, from a fan's perspective, you want to see them where they are in their careers, right? Because otherwise, yeah, you could have you know, for example, off the top of my head, because he's fighting this weekend, Paddy Pimblett, you know, going up against a top 5 guy, like straight in, because stylistically it makes sense, right? But then I guess you really need to evaluate where they are in their careers. So those fights doesn't really make sense. Yes, Ash saying how many he hates how many belts there are in boxing. Absolutely. Let us know if you think that as well. But yeah, that's kind of my final thoughts on the situation. I'm kind of on the fence. There's some very valuable points there for both. Maybe the cons do outweigh the positives a little bit. If you can see or you can think of any other positives for there being a 165 weight division, pop them in the chat, pop them in the comments. And, you know, because we're a UFC fan channel, fan opinions matter most. And, you know, me and the guys, we grew up in and went to schools where not many people like mixed martial arts in the UFC. So, you know, we had such a small group of people to talk about it with. And this is why we created this channel, is because we want to talk about the sport that we love with as many fans as possible. So, yeah, like I said, let us know what you think on that subject. Bit of change of subject at the just could go through a few things. This weekend, of course, we got, I think it's classified as International Fight Week, even though it's in Vegas. Of course, it's going to be in home soil. Home soil? It's not home soil. It was going to be in home soil. It's going to be a decent time for us in the UK. We got a main card kicking off at 9 p.m. So we will be doing a watch along for that, of course, as always. And it's going to be myself and Ash that'll be running it this weekend. Si's off doing other things, but don't worry. Come join us, come have a laugh, come have a drink, and, you know, have your thoughts read out live. You know, we read as many comments as we can, get your picks as well in to us. We would like to hear from you guys and who you think is going to win this weekend. And, you know, watch live reactions. That's what it's all about, you know. We love the watch along show. It's very beneficial, and we love hearing from you guys as well. Of course. So very looking forward to that. Do stay tuned. If you haven't done so already, do hit that subscribe button. Do hit the like on the video as well if you like the topic that we've just been discussing. And of course, follow us on Twitter as well. Stay up to date, you know, see what's coming next from the channel. You know, we're doing a new segment pretty soon. I got a feeling there's going to be a big fight announced very, very soon. So do stay tuned for that. I will be going in live to kind of break it down a little bit and discuss my thoughts and feelings towards it. Of course. So, yes, I'm JK. This has been Against the Fence. See you later.